Hi guys.
Hello.
How is it going? We are going to be talking about the changes in my diet during my pregnancy that Matt has also taken along with me, camaraderie's sake. So in this video, I will be quoting or just pointing out some things that are also said in Real Food for Pregnancy by Lily Nichols.
So these are the two books we're mainly using.
Yeah.
This one is called The Nourishing Traditions Book of Baby and Child Care.
And then we do have a podcast with Lily Nichols you can listen to, as well as a podcast on our first trimester experience. And we talk about nutrition in that as well.
Nutritionally, these books are basically identical of what they recommend.
So today we're going to be talking about the 5 foods I've increased in my diet during pregnancy and the 5 foods I've decreased and why. And then some bonuses sprinkled in there, of course. The first food I have increased my intake of is liver. Nature's multivitamin, so to speak.
Who says that?
The book says that. So I consume it 1 time a week, I'll be honest. 1 to 2 would be good, but I'm more on the side of 1, and I do about 2 to 3 ounces, heavily seasoned, and it makes it really delicious. Liver is really, really high in vitamin A, and that's a necessary nutrient that you need for your body as well as the baby forming inside of you.
Some would say the most necessary nutrient.
Absolutely.
It's also pretty hard to get in our food.
And that's why liver is whether or not you're pregnant, liver is such a great nutrient dense food. So there are issues, maybe some of you may have heard that there's worry about consuming liver due to the vitamin A toxicity. What is recommended is getting your vitamin A through plant sources.
Terrible recommendation.
Why?
Well, it converts at a really small rate, and some people, actually like a decent percentage of people, can't even convert it.
I mean, not only vitamin A in liver, but liver has a ton of fat-soluble vitamins that are necessary. So A, D, E, and K. All of these for you and for your baby. And one thing to note is that your needs and your requirements for certain vitamins, most vitamins and nutrients, increases when you're pregnant. So it's really important to get these, in our opinion. The second food I have increased my intake of and I've been loving is eggs. So you guys know I love my egg salad, but like scrambled eggs, fried eggs, just eggs galore. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, mostly egg yolks.
Yeah.
Egg whites are just protein, basically.
So that book recommends, 2 eggs at least a day, and then additional egg
Plus
yolks. Yeah. And the big thing about eggs is they're high in choline, along with liver, but eggs in particular. And there's also vitamin A in there. There's omega-3 in there. So eggs are just also like a nutrient powerhouse.
No, I think choline has like some special role when you're pregnant, right? Critically important for the development of the brain of the baby.
You want a good brain.
Because I know like when you're taking certain focus enhancing supplements and stuff, a lot of times you take choline with them. So it helps with like neurotransmitters, etc. So it totally makes sense why it would be important for a growing brain. And
with foods like eggs and liver, where there are multiple nutrients present, like choline, vitamin A, and they're high in DHA or omega-3s, they all work synergistically to enhance the incorporation into the cells. So it's important not to just be consuming vitamin A, but also consuming all of these together. The third food I've increased my intake of is seafood. So personally, I enjoy a lot of salmon, so skin on salmon. So that's higher fat with the skin. We've also been doing shrimp. And when I'm out, sometimes I'll just get a fish instead of a steak, which, normally I would get. Another great way to get fats in as well as omega-3s.
So these are just the most nutrient-dense, fat-soluble vitamin foods.
I think one of the biggest things is eating the bigger fish. So like tuna or bigger fish, swordfish, just like the big fish, because 1, they live longer, and 2, they eat all the little other fish that have mercury in them. So it's just a compounding mercury effect in their body. So they're just higher in mercury. So maybe something to stay away from. And then personally, as far as raw fish goes, it's hard to know the quality, especially when you're eating out. So I'm just not doing sushi. I'm not doing raw fish or raw seafood when I'm out, just because I can't guarantee the quality is high quality. The fourth food I've increased my intake of during pregnancy has been water.
That's not a food.
So I've basically swapped out most beverages that I've been drinking, not during my pregnancy, with water. So I think your water intake does substantially increase when you are pregnant, but also you're more prone, or I'm prone to like irritable bladder, maybe bladder infections, UTIs. So upping your water intake is going to help with that. And it's also going to help with like regularity. So you also become naturally very constipated. So the water is helping with that for me as well. If I'm working out, probably more water. I'm just making sure I'm always hydrated. And that is very important for me. And then the fifth thing that I have increased in my diet during pregnancy has been bone broth, bone-in, slow-cooked meats. So we've been like roasting short ribs a lot, or like we'll get a big hunk of meat and we'll smoke it for a while. And bone broth, those are high in glycine.
So I didn't know that this happened, but there are certain things that are non-essential typically, but when you're pregnant, they become conditionally essential, meaning that you can't produce enough, so you need to get some from diet. So glycine is one of those that's present in like collagen supplements, bone broth, meat on the bone. It's an amino acid that you need more of when you're pregnant.
So the first thing that I have decreased in my diet during pregnancy has been just erythritol-based products, either baked at home or even just processed snacks that we buy that use erythritol as their main sweetener. And I think it's really just happened more so naturally with me during my pregnancy. I'm more turned off by like the artificial sweetener, and I prefer just like a wholer foods, maybe with a little touch of honey, like if I have something that's a whole food sweet snack, or either you're just using stevia or monk fruit. Like I'll use stevia in my coffee or my tea every morning, but erythritol is just something I've turned away from. I mean, the digestive issues and the constipation really don't go hand in hand. And so it's something that's just become more natural for me now that I'm focusing more so on healthy, nutrient-dense foods.
I like it.
The second thing that I've decreased my diet with is Zevia. So I was drinking Zevia a day, sometimes even two, prior to my pregnancy, but with increasing my water intake and finding that when I was drinking a Zevia a day, even during like the first several weeks of my first trimester, I was like not as hydrated. I was having like a little bladder irritability. I just found that cutting that out and swapping it in with water was a better option for my body.
I still drink that pretty regularly. Not that I'm pregnant.
Do you?
But
We
haven't had any in like a few days.
I always say, do you want any? You say no. And then the third food that I've decreased in my diet has been protein powder. So I am huge on protein powder.
She is.
Like there was a period of time for like 3 months. I was doing protein waffles or a mug cake every single night after dinner. I like making like smoothie bowls. You guys know that. I like using protein powder mixed with Kite Hill almond milk yogurt. Like I like protein powder as a source in my diet. I've just been finding that I prefer to get my protein from real foods along with all my other nutrients and vitamins. Like protein powder is really, that's it. Like that's all there is to it, right? It's just protein powder. There's not a lot of value added there. Obviously eating some salmon or eating some meat or some chicken is going to be more beneficial for me. And so that's something I've just kind of taken out of my diet. I don't know if I'll stay that way post-pregnancy, but right now, I'm really glad that I'm not utilizing it so much. It felt like a crutch. Like it's sweet, it's delicious, it makes a dessert every single time. It's like, I don't need that.
I think it's a lot easier to make your diet more optimal when there's another person involved. Like you're making decisions for the baby too. So like a lot of this stuff was kind of hard to do. When you got a baby, it makes it a lot easier.
And then the fourth thing that I've decreased in my diet has been eating like just simple, boring meals night after night. Prior to pregnancy, I was a big proponent of just eating like a steak and Brussels sprouts or a steak and butter or just like a piece of meat for dinner every single night. Just stay consistent, and that makes it a lot easier to adhere to the diet. Like that just makes sense to me. But since my pregnancy, my tastes have changed a lot. Like I said, the first trimester, I loved beef liver. With that, I've just been eating what I'm really enjoying. So nightly, it'll change. Like I made a bunch of chili last night, and the night before we did egg roll in a bowl with shrimp. So really just listening to my body and enjoying, the change in taste and the cravings. And I think that goes for everyone. Like you don't have to have a boring, rigid diet to be able to adhere to it. Like you can still enjoy the foods, add spices, eat delicious things that isn't just a steak, and have success on your diet. Like randomly when I'm at the gym, I'll get like a taste for Taco Bell, which is weird. Like I'll be doing like bench press and I'll be like, oh, Taco Bell just came to my mouth. Like I just have these memories coming back of like these foods I used to love and eat, but then it's quickly passing. It's transient. So it's like in the moment I want it So it could be very impulsive, but like then I'd have to drive to the Taco Bell. And during that time, I'd be like, is this even good for me? Like, should I be getting the Taco Bell? And then the fifth, and probably the biggest, I would say, is caffeine. And I say it's the biggest because it's probably been the hardest to do. I've just been tired a lot, and like caffeine would help me with the workout. Caffeine would help me do work. Caffeine would help me stay up longer to watch TV at night, you know? I'm also reading a book. It's called Expecting Better. And in that book, the author talks about how there isn't a ton of evidence to support cutting out caffeine completely. Like the comparative studies show that, you know, someone who doesn't drink any caffeine at all compared to someone who maybe drinks up to 3 cups a day, there's no real difference in like the weight of the baby or the health of the baby or the behavior problems. And so maybe that's something you want to look into. The book is called Expecting Better. It was a very personal choice that we discussed and decided to do together. You know, caffeine is something, and everything included, crosses the placenta barrier. It is getting to the baby. And to me, I don't think it's something that the baby needs for development, especially in the first trimester when it's forming its kidneys, its liver, its brain, like all the essential necessary parts. It's something that I can cut out for 9 months. I can easily cut out alcohol, so why can't I easily cut out caffeine, you know? I think it's one of those things that's up for debate, honestly. It's pretty controversial because there are women who drink. I mean, well, the recommendation from most doctors, and I think like maybe a government guideline is up to 200 milligrams a day.
Yeah.
For a woman, and that's a lot of caffeine. I don't even drink that on an average day necessarily when I'm not pregnant.
This book here doesn't have like a lot of sound evidence about being against caffeine, which I know this book will be against caffeine. It's against anything unnatural, basically. There's an interesting theory that a woman with depleted adrenal function can steal adrenal hormones from her developing fetus.
It's
That's just an interesting theory.
Yeah.
There is not a lot of data, I guess, on it. I haven't looked into it too much, just like on studies and stuff. It doesn't make much sense to me why you would be consuming caffeine when you have a baby inside of you.
I mean, that's our personal opinion, but a lot of women consume caffeine and have healthy pregnancies, beautiful babies.
Bonus section.
So to go along with just my natural leaning towards wholer foods, some of the things I have been consuming that, you know, aren't necessarily the most optimal for keto, but I feel are better to me than maybe like a brownie with 12 grams of erythritol is something like this. This is an example of what I have been eating, what we both have. It's called Paleo Crunch. It's more of a paleo food, but it has 9 net carbs total. And the ingredients are almonds, shredded coconut, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, coconut oil, and the last ingredient is honey. It's not sweet at all. There's a very small touch of honey. To me, this is a better food for me to consume at this time, at this stage during my pregnancy, than, you know, something super high in erythritol. This is also another example called Kavita. I'm obsessed with this. So this is like my alternative to soda. So per 8 fluid ounces, half of this bottle, it's 5 or 4 grams of carbs. And I just find this to be like really refreshing, and it goes well with all the water I'm drinking. So this is also another example of a bar we've been consuming. So it's the Epic meat bars, and we love these now. Like, these are filling and delicious, great for travel. So 2 total carbs, but really good ingredients. So just grass-fed venison and then some like spices.
Yeah, because if you look at something like this compared to, I don't know, like a Quest bar.
Yeah.
This has, you know, vastly more actual nutritional value. The only thing it has more of that you might not want is the carbs. So for Mega's situation, you know, it makes sense to maybe having a little bit of extra carbs when you're also getting significantly more nutrients. Because, you know, Quest bar is completely devoid of nutrition, right? It's soluble corn fiber and protein powder mashed together. So you don't really get much out of that. You get a low carb treat, which is good in certain contexts, like for weight loss.
Absolutely.
For sure. This, I would say, is probably better for her current situation, trying to gain a little weight and also just include more nutrients in her diet. What do you guys think?
Any other bonuses you got?
Fermented vegetables, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, and I'm actually going to make all of these at home too. I'm going to probably have some videos coming soon. I've never made kimchi or sauerkraut before, but I've made kombucha. Do you take a prenatal vitamin?
So I do not take a prenatal vitamin, which is also a very personal choice. The one vitamin I do take is folate, along with my cod liver oil, of course, and my vitamin D. But folate is the one thing I supplement. But I'm getting all my other nutrients that I would get from a prenatal vitamin in the beef liver, in the salmon, in the ground beef that I'm eating.
Well, the prenatal vitamins don't even have those. That's the thing.
In the butter, in the coconut oil, in the lard.
Prenatal vitamin. This is a Whole Foods multivitamin, and we actually got a really good one. So this is about as good as it gets.
So no fillers or anything. So if you're looking for one, that's something I would make sure no red dyes.
So the one good thing about this is it actually has the fish oil in it, EPA and DHA. But if you look at all the vitamins, it's all from plants. So essentially it's useless. So it has vitamin A as beta carotene, has vitamin D, form of vitamin D is D2. Yeah, it has a lot of just plant forms of vitamins which are not absorbed. So you're much better, in my opinion, doing it the route we're doing and actually getting the vitamins from foods. What do you guys think? What are you doing for your pregnancy?
Yeah, or what did you do for your pregnancy? This is all our opinion, what we're implementing, not anything you have to do by any means. We hope you enjoyed it. Bye.